Everybody in orthodontics thinks they're so smart. You listening right now, you might be one of them. I was number one in my class. I was brilliant. I don't need to hear what Glenn is telling me. So if your life is where you want it to be, amazing. If everything is exactly the way you want it to be, and by the way, side note, I've learned orthodontists are really good at lying about that to themselves. But if everything is where you want it to be, fantastic. But chances are you can grow. Hey there, Orthopreneurs, and welcome to another episode of your 5-Minute Friday. I'm Dr. Glenn Krieger, your host. And today, I'm going to get a number of you very upset. And those are my favorite 5-Minute Fridays. So if you can't take the heat, well, you might want to leave the kitchen right now. But I promise you, when we're done with this, you're going to feel a lot better about some of the things we're talking about. And what we're going to start with today is your practice. You are not hitting the numbers you want. I know that for sure, because I've met very few orthodontists who tell me that they're hitting the numbers they want. Now, you might be up 15%, but if you're up 15%, it's because you busted your butt, and you probably want to be up 20%. If your practice is doing $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million a year, and you want to be bigger, or if you're $5 million and you want to grow by 10% and you only grew by 5%, here's the thing. There's only two reasons why you're not where you want to be. Things you can control and things you can't. What you can't control, stock market crashes, you can't control economic downturns, you can't control any of those things that are out there as a broader macroeconomic thing, right? You can't. If you can, let's talk. But chances are you can't control any of that stuff. Then there are things you can control, right? And within those, it's a pretty broad bucket of things you can control. You can control how much time you spend marketing your practice. You can control how you market your practice. You can control the policies and systems in your office, the amount of time and energy you put into growing your office, the visits you have with doctors. I mean, let's be honest. No matter what your practice is doing, chances are a large reason why your practice is not doing what you want it to do is you. Okay? Now, there's two kinds of people out there. They're the ones out there who hear it and say, I don't know what you're talking about, Glenn. It's not me. I'm in a competitive area. I'm busting my butt. I'm killing myself. It is not growing. Okay. And then there's the second group who sit there and say, you know what? You're right. I could do better. I am in control of this. There's more I can do to make this better or what have you. And you might wonder what those things are, but at least you're going to take responsibility. And for those of you not taking responsibility, you still have the same exact problem. You should be taking responsibility. But if you're not, that's on you, not me. And so when I ask you all the questions at the end of the day, of all the things you can and can't do to change your practice, what are they? Okay? So number one, and this is going to come in no particular order. Number one, what are you doing to build your practice and to reduce your overhead? Right? Are you wishing? Are you hoping? Are you playing it by ear or by your hip and saying, well, I'm going to try to reduce my overhead? Really? How'd you do that? I'm going to try to grow my practice. Really? How are you going to do that? Are you investing the time into your practice that you want? If you want to grow by 10 or 15% and you're not putting in 10 to 15% more time, how do you expect to grow it? Are you going to courses and seeking mentors and hiring coaches and dealing with all those things that you need to be doing to grow your practice? Here's a quick little note about coaches. Everybody in orthodontics thinks they're so smart. You listening right now, you might be one of them. I was number one in my class. I was brilliant. I don't need to hear what Glenn is telling me. So if your life is where you want it to be, amazing. If everything is exactly the way you want it to be, and by the way, side note, I've learned orthodontists are really good at lying about that to themselves. But if everything is where you want it to be, fantastic. But chances are you can grow. And if you look at a coach, it can help you tremendously. Now, there aren't that many amazing coaching programs in orthodontics. And I will be launching one down the road. Not now. Keep your ears and eyes open for it it's going to be a premium boutique coaching program to help people get where they want. But right now, there aren't a lot of coaches in the ortho space that are going to focus on production and growth and systems and really holistically looking at everything you need to do. So the next best thing is a consultant. And there are a lot of consultants out there, but there are very few consultants who are going to solve everything for you. So you want to grow your production, you hire a production consultant. You want to reduce your overhead, you find somebody who works at overhead. You want to get better marketing, you find a marketing consultant. They're out there, they exist, but they're piecemeal, right? They're one at a time. You yourself, as the owner of the business, owe it to yourself to find out what are the things that stand in the way of you being more successful, looking yourself in the mirror, in the eye, and saying, I'm not doing $3 million a year. I want to be doing $3 million a year. I'm doing $2 million a year right now at 65% overhead. I'd rather be doing $2.5 million at 40% overhead, or I'd rather be doing $2 million at 40% overhead. Where do I need to go? And what time do I need to spend to be able to do it? And those are the two biggest problems we face that I'm really going to dial down into right now. Number one, you're probably not spending enough money. And number two, you're probably not spending enough time. The greatest investment on planet Earth is you, for you. There's no better investment. So start spending the money. I'll guarantee you, as somebody who's personally spent over $100,000 in 1 year on coaching programs and on CE, whatever you invest will come back to you tenfold in a couple of years' time. Minimum tenfold. So my charge to you for 2025 is get to more courses, get to more meetings, and potentially hire a coach, if you can, or a consultant to help you along the way. Because done right, you should find it'll pay back so much to you financially and in lower stress. So again, you need to spend more time and more money on yourself and on your practice, because when you do that, we'll be having this conversation in 2026, and you'll be one of the people saying, you know what? My practice is headed where I want it to be. I'm not as frustrated as I've been. I don't feel like I want to get burned out and quit orthodontics or dentistry or whatever you might be doing. You'll be happier, you'll be healthier, and you'll be able to spend the time and energy on the places you want to spend it instead of in your practice. So let's be smart. Let's spend more money on ourselves. Let's spend more time on ourselves. And again, if you don't spend the money and you don't spend the time, something really interesting is going to happen. Nothing. Much love to each and every one of you. I sincerely hope I see you at Summit in Vegas, because that's one of the places where you should be spending your time and you should be spending your money, because I'm personally guaranteeing you, not only will you find it valuable, but you really should see at least a 50x on whatever you spend at Summit in 1 year. 50x. Like, look, if you're going to spend $2,500 on going to the meeting and another $1,000 on airfare and a hotel, that's $3,500. If you don't make back, let's call it $100,000, 30x, give or take. If you don't make back $100,000 more in that next year from the things you learned at Summit, that's on you. You didn't apply what you should have. But I'll guarantee you, every year I come back, the amount of stuff I make and the amount of time I get is way more. So go to opsummit2025.com, sign up now. I guarantee you personally, guarantee it, that you'll find it worthwhile. See you there.